A barista discovers her regulars are fae, hiding in plain sight, and that she's the key to keeping their world anchored to this one. She served the fae their coffee. Now the city will never sleep again. The hiss of the espresso machine was the only heartbeat left in the cafe. Brew and Bloom sat on the corner of Main and Ash, where the streetlights flickered just a little slower than they should. Every other storefront was dark at this hour, boutiques locked up, the antique shop's cat curled in the window, the florist's sign still faintly glowing open, even though it hadn't been true for 3 hours. But Tessa Morgan's lights burned on. They always did. She told herself it was because she needed the overtime. Rent didn't care how tired she was, but some nights like this one, she lingered because the silence felt thick. The walls breathed with it, and lately she swore she could feel something underneath the floorboards. A vibration, subtle as a second pulse. She told no one about that. Still here, Sam's voice drifted from the back room, muffled by the grind of beans. "Just finishing up," Tessa called back. She wiped down the counter again, slow and methodical, the rag squeaking over the surface. It was nearly midnight. Her last customers were the same two who always appeared just before closing, Mrs. Finch and Orion. Mrs. Finch was hard to forget. She was in her 60s, maybe older, silver hair wound into a bun held by strange pins, carved like feathers or talons. She always ordered chamomile tea with a wedge of lemon, which she never actually used. Tonight she sat by the window, her reflection a faint ghost in the glass. Orion was harder to read, mid-30s maybe. Dark coat, hands that looked like they'd held both weapons and secrets. His eyes, gray, shot through with pale silver, followed every flicker of movement with unnerving precision. He always ordered a black coffee, never touched sugar, and left the cup half full. Tessa didn't know what they were to each other, if they even knew each other. But when they were both here, the air felt charged, like the moment before lightning. The clock above the counter ticked over to 11:59. She caught herself glancing at it too often lately. Something about the last minute before midnight made her uneasy. A superstition she hadn't had before, maybe because a week ago, at that same hour, everything had shifted. The lights had flickered once, twice. The air had hummed, deep and low, through her bones. For a moment, she'd seen something through the glass windows. Not the street, but a reflection of a place glowing with lanterns and smoke. And then, as suddenly as it came, it was gone. The clock had struck 12, the hum had stopped, and she told herself it was exhaustion. But now, as the minute hand crept closer again, her stomach coiled with dread. "Need a refill, Mrs. Finch?" she asked, too brightly. "No, dear." The woman smiled without looking up from her tea. "You'll want your hands free." Tessa blinked. "What?" Orion stood abruptly, his chair scraping. "It's starting." And then the lights went out. The espresso machine gave a dying hiss. The hum returned, louder, deeper, as if the earth itself had taken a breath. The bell above the door rang, though no one had entered. Mrs. Finch rose with impossible grace for someone her age. Her eyes glowed faintly blue in the dark. "It's all right, dear. You'll see soon enough." Tessa stumbled back, one hand groping for her phone. Its flashlight flickered weakly, then died. The windows had changed. They no longer showed Main Street at all. Instead, the glass rippled with reflections that weren't reflections. A cityscape shimmering in gold and violet. Lanterns floated through the air. Stalls lined cobbled streets. Figures moved like shadows in starlight, their eyes glinting in unnatural hues. "What is this?" Tessa whispered. The veil, Orion said quietly. You're seeing through it now. The hum crescendoed, and then, with a sound like a sigh, the floor dissolved. The world dropped out from under her feet. For one heart-stopping moment, she fell through light and shadow, through layers of reality folding over each other, and then landed hard on cobblestones that pulsed with faint luminescence. The air smelled like honey and ozone. Music drifted somewhere nearby. A violin playing a melody too sad for human fingers. When she looked up, her breath caught. The city around her was alive. Lanterns floated overhead, tethered by threads of silver. Market stalls stretched in every direction, selling wares she couldn't name. Glass bottles filled with swirling light, cages of whispering moths, fruits that glowed from within. A river ran through the center, but the water wasn't water. It was liquid light, streaming in gentle currents. The people, if they were people, moved like dreams. Some had hair that shimmered like metal, others with wings, others still with eyes that reflected constellations. And every single one of them turned to look at her. Tessa's heart hammered. Where are we? Mrs. Finch smiled softly. Welcome to the night market, dear. The what? The night market, Orion repeated, stepping forward. The faint glow of lanterns reflected in his eyes now, and for the first time she realized that they weren't gray. They were silver, truly silver. It lies beneath your world, between waking and dream. It opens only for those bound to it. Bound to it? You, he said simply. Tessa laughed shakily. Okay, no, I'm just the barista who stayed late. I don't even like staying up past midnight. But Finch was watching her with something close to pity. You've felt the hum, haven't you? Tessa froze. How did you? Because that hum is the market calling its anchor. The what, now? Orion's expression softened. Every 100 years, one mortal-born fae is chosen to keep the market tethered to the mortal world. Without the anchor, it drifts away, and eventually fades. Tessa shook her head hard. You've got the wrong girl. You hear the market. Finch said, You survived the crossing unaided. You're not wrong, dear. You're rare. Her pulse pounded in her ears. No, my mom was a teacher. My dad ran a hardware store. Orion cut her off gently. Your mother was the last anchor. The words landed like stones. What did you say? She died young, didn't she? Finch murmured. The market faltered then. We thought it lost. Until the hum returned. Tessa's mouth went dry. You knew my mother? Orion hesitated. Yes. Who are you people? He stepped closer, and though his presence was steady, it carried the weight of something ancient. Your mother protected this place. Now it's your turn. Tessa took a step back, shaking her head. No, I just make coffee. That's it. No magic, no destiny. A laugh rippled through the crowd of watching fae. Soft and cruel, like glass breaking underwater. Finch's eyes glowed brighter. Denial won't change blood, dear. The market recognizes its own. The hum thrummed again, and this time it came from inside her. Her chest burned. Light flickered beneath her skin. Faint, golden veins spreading like roots. No, she gasped. No, no, no. Orion's voice was low, almost kind. You can't run from it. The market is you. And then everything exploded into light. For a heartbeat, Tessa thought she'd been blinded. Then the brilliance softened into shape and color, and the world remade itself around her. She stood in the middle of a street paved with cobblestones that glowed faintly blue, like moonlit glass. Lanterns swayed from ropes that never touched the ceiling. There was no ceiling. The sky above was an ocean of indigo and drifting constellations that moved too fast to be stars. The air shimmered with heat, scent, and music. The market stretched as far as she could see. A labyrinth of stalls and bridges, staircases leading upward to nowhere, spiraling towers made of bone-white marble, their surfaces carved with shifting symbols. The people, if they were people, were strangers still. A merchant with skin like liquid silver handed glowing coins to a child whose hair was made of feathers. A woman with 6 iridescent eyes hawked crystal fruits that pulsed as if alive. Laughter echoed like wind chimes through the corridors of air. Tessa's pulse was a hammer in her throat. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a step that hadn't been there a second ago. "This can't be real," she whispered. "It's as real as the world above," Orion said quietly. "You just never learned how to see it." She spun toward him. He looked different here, taller somehow, his outline sharper, as though this world fit him better than the one above. The runes on his dark coat glowed faintly silver. His eyes caught the starlight and threw it back at her. "Where are we?" "The night market," he said. "The heart of the in-between. Built by bargains, powered by belief." Belief, faith, promise, memory. The market survives because mortals remember it exists, even in dreams. But those memories fade, and when they do, the market drifts. Drifts where? Into nothing. A voice behind them chimed like glass. "And that's why we have anchors." Mrs. Finch stood at the edge of the glowing street, her bone pins gleaming under the lantern light. The wrinkles in her face had softened, or maybe vanished entirely. Her eyes were no longer gray, but bright, crystalline blue. Tessa's mouth went dry. "You're one of them." "Of course," said Finch, smiling faintly. "Did you think the market would send mortals to fetch you?" "Fetch me? Like I'm a lost dog?" Finch tilted her head, unbothered. "You've been humming in the background of 2 worlds for years, dear. The market's heartbeat lives in you. It's only a matter of time before you learn to listen." "I don't want to listen." Her voice cracked through the air, and something nearby shivered. A hanging lantern flickered, its flame sputtering blue. The crowd around them fell silent. Orion's hand brushed her elbow. "Careful," he murmured. "The market answers emotion. Anger can break things." She jerked away. "What are you talking about?" He studied her for a long moment. "Your power isn't separate from this place. It's the same energy. The market reflects you." Tessa wanted to laugh. "Right. Great. So if I throw a tantrum, I break reality. Cool. No pressure." Finch's smile didn't waver. "You'll adjust. Your mother did." At the mention of her mother, Tessa froze. "You keep saying that. You knew her. Both of you did." Orion's jaw tightened. "Yes." "Then tell me the truth. What was she?" Finch's eyes softened. "A woman who loved too deeply for her own good. A fae who chose to live among mortals. And the anchor who kept this market bound to your city for 30 years. She never told me." "She couldn't," Finch said simply. "The market forbids memory of it in the waking world. She gave up everything to protect you." Tessa's vision blurred. For a second, she could almost see her mother's face. Soft curls, flour-dusted hands from the bakery she ran before she got sick. "Protect me from what?" Orion's voice was low. "From us." Finch's glance was sharp. "That's not fair." "It's true." He looked at Tessa. "The courts wanted to claim you when you were born. A mortal-born anchor is power incarnate, half bound to the market, half to earth. You could tear the veil down with a thought, or rebuild it stronger than ever." Tessa stared. "Why me?" "Because of your blood," said Finch. "And because you survived your mother's death without the market collapsing. That's never happened before. So, I'm a glitch?" "You're a miracle," said Orion. "And a threat." The word sank like a stone. A threat to who? To anyone who wants this place gone. The hum under her skin deepened again, as if responding to his words. A tremor ran through the cobblestones. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rang once, twice. The crowd stilled. Finch's face turned grave. The hunters! The way Orion's hand went instantly to his blade told Tessa this was no metaphor. A cold wind swept the market, snuffing lanterns in its path. The air dimmed, shadows stretching long and thin. The starlit sky above flickered. Not clouds, but rips, thin tears like claws through silk. Orion grabbed her wrist. "We have to move." Tessa stumbled after him as Finch barked orders in a language that tasted like metal on her tongue. The fae around them scattered. The hum in her chest turned sharp, vibrating so hard it hurt. "What's happening?" she gasped. "The veil's thinning," said Orion. "They're trying to breach it from the other side." "Who's they?" "Old fae," he said grimly. "Ones who want the market gone, erased, so our world can return to the dark it came from." The street ahead warped and split. Black smoke poured from the cracks, coiling upward like serpents. Inside the smoke, Tessa saw shapes, long limbs, gleaming teeth, eyes like dying suns. A voice hissed through the air, many voices at once. "The anchor wakes. Kill her before she binds again." Pain seared her chest. The light beneath her skin flared so brightly it illuminated the street. Orion raised his blade, a long curve of mirrored glass. "Stay behind me." But before he could move, the smoke surged forward, a wave of claws and whispering mouths. Instinct took over. Tessa threw out her hands. Light exploded again, but not outward. This time it came from beneath. The glowing cobblestones pulsed, then cracked open like an egg. The world tilted, and suddenly she was falling again. The fall didn't feel like falling. It felt like being remembered. Wind rushed past her, but the air wasn't air. It was thick with color, threads of silver and gold, twisting around her arms and legs like silk ribbons. Fragments of voices echoed in her ears, words she didn't understand, each syllable thrumming inside her chest like a second heartbeat. When she hit the ground, there was no pain, just warmth. She opened her eyes. She was lying in a vast cavern of light. The walls shimmered as though made of moving glass, veins of gold pulsing like they carried something alive through them. The hum was deafening now, not just in the air, but in her bones. She pushed herself up, trembling. At the center of the chamber stood a tree. It grew from the stone itself, enormous, its trunk transparent as crystal, its branches hung with orbs that looked like trapped stars. Beneath its roots, rivers of luminescent liquid flowed outward in every direction. Tessa stared, breathless. "What is this?" "The heart," said a voice behind her. She turned. Orion stood at the edge of the light, sword in hand, breathing hard. His coat was torn, streaked with smoke and ash. Behind him, the tunnel she must have fallen through sealed itself with a sound like cracking ice. "The market's core," he said, stepping closer. "You found it." "I didn't find anything," she said, chest still glowing faintly. "It dragged me here." Orion looked at her, eyes reflecting the glow from the tree. "Then it's chosen you." "Chosen me for what? To get nearly killed by shadows?" He sheathed his sword. "To survive them." The air shifted. The branches of the heart trembled, and a ripple of light passed through the chamber. In it, Tessa saw flickers, memories, her mother's face, younger, laughing, holding a baby. Then the image fractured into darkness, a shadow rising behind her mother like smoke. Tessa stepped closer, tears pricking her eyes. "Mom, she's gone," Orion said softly. "But her magic isn't. It's what keeps this place alive." Tessa turned on him, voice breaking. "You knew her. You both did. Why didn't anyone tell me what she was?" "She wanted you safe, to live as mortal as you could." "Yeah, that worked out great." Orion flinched, just slightly. Tessa took a shaky breath and turned back to the heart. The hum grew louder when she looked at it, like the thing was breathing with her. "It's alive. It's everything," he said. "Every bargain ever made, every truth ever kept. The market is its body. You're its pulse." She shook her head. "No, no, I can't be." The light flared. She staggered as warmth surged through her chest, flowing outward until her skin shimmered gold. The glow connected her to the roots of the tree, threads of light stretching from her hands into the floor, through the stone, into the world above. Orion's eyes widened. "Tessa, stop! I'm not doing anything!" The hum turned into a roar. The chamber shook. Fragments of stone fell like rain. And then, silence. When she opened her eyes, the light had dimmed again. But the world felt different. Brighter, calmer. The hum had steadied into a rhythm that matched her heartbeat exactly. Orion looked at her like he was seeing a ghost. "You rebalanced it." "What?" "The heart was destabilizing. That's why the hunters came. They feed on imbalance. You restored it." Tessa stared at her glowing hands, then at him. "You're saying I fixed this by accident?" "Not by accident," he said quietly. "By instinct." She let out a shaky laugh. "So now what? Do I get a medal? A vacation? A raise?" He smiled. The first real smile she'd seen from him. "A drink? Maybe." The sound of laughter startled her. Not his, but others. A cluster of small, luminous creatures had gathered near the roots of the heart. They looked like children, but their eyes were silver and their hair floated as though underwater. "They're market spirits," Orion explained. "Born from magic when it grows strong. You brought them back." One of them drifted closer, curious. It reached a hand toward Tessa's glow, touched it, and giggled. The sound like a bell ringing in a dream. Something loosened in her chest. For the first time since midnight, she didn't feel afraid. She crouched down and smiled at the spirit. "Hey there." It tilted its head, mirroring her. "Anchor," it whispered, voice like wind through reeds. Tessa blinked. "You can talk. Can remember," it said. "Can stay now." Then it darted away, disappearing into the roots like a drop of light sinking into water. Orion watched her quietly. "They remember you. They don't even know me. They remember what you did. That's enough." The ground trembled again, gentler this time. The glow from the heart pulsed, spreading up the branches and into the ceiling until it became a map of veins running through the rock. "What's happening now?" she asked. "It's healing." He extended his hand. "Come on. We should get you back before the veil closes." She hesitated, then took it. His fingers were warm, his grip steady. When he led her toward the tunnel, the air rippled around them, like the world itself was parting. The market above awaited. Faint music, glowing streets, the scent of something sweet and burning. They stepped through the light together. When they emerged, the market was quieter than before. The chaos from the attack had settled into uneasy calm. Mrs. Finch appeared almost instantly, her dress now dark with soot. "You're alive." "Barely," Tessa said. "What the hell was that?" Finch's eyes darted toward Orion, then back to Tessa. "You found the heart." Tessa nodded slowly. "I think it found me." Finch's smile was brittle. "Then we may yet survive this century." Tessa frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Anchors burn bright. Finch said softly. But they don't burn long. The words hit like a blade. Orion's glare could have frozen steel. That's enough. Finch met his look evenly. She should know what she is. I'll tell her when she's ready. None of us are ever ready, Finch murmured, and disappeared into the crowd. Tessa turned to Orion. What did she mean? He hesitated. It's complicated. Then uncomplicated. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. The market needs balance. An anchor holds both worlds together, but the more power they use, the more they burn themselves away. You can't pour magic into something forever without losing some of yourself. So what? I'm just supposed to let the world unravel to save my lifespan? He smiled, sad and small. You sound like your mother. She crossed her arms. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. They stood in silence as lanterns flickered overhead. Around them, the market began to hum again. Softer now, almost peaceful. The crisis had passed, for tonight, but the weight of what she'd learned sat heavy on her shoulders. After a moment, she looked at Orion and asked quietly, If I'm going to burn, can I at least learn how to make it count? His eyes met hers, silver, bright in the dark. Then I'll teach you. The promise hung between them, soft as breath, but heavy with consequence. When Tessa woke the next morning, if it was morning down here, the market was in its lull. The lanterns burned pale blue instead of gold, and a thin mist rolled through the streets like a low tide. The air smelled of metal and citrus, as if lightning had recently struck. She'd fallen asleep in one of the abandoned stalls. Curled up under a blanket Orion had somehow conjured from nowhere. When she sat up, her neck ached. Her hair was sticking out in defiant directions, and her chest still faintly glowed in the half-light. Orion was already awake. Of course he was. He stood near the bridge, his coat off, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, a notebook open on the railing. You write? She asked. He looked up, surprised she'd caught him. I record. What, like Diary of the Damned? More like field notes. He closed the book gently. Anchors come and go. Someone has to remember how they worked. She pushed herself up, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders like armor. How many before me? He hesitated. 6 that we know of. And how many survived? A beat of silence. 2. She let out a low whistle. Well, that's not encouraging. They burned bright, he said quietly. And in doing so, they bought the rest of us centuries of peace. Tessa looked toward the distant towers of the market, their peaks glowing faintly against the indigo sky. So, what does this teaching thing look like? You going to make me meditate? Do push-ups? Chant in a dead language? He smiled slightly. Something like that. Come on. He led her across the bridge into an open courtyard where the cobblestones shimmered faintly underfoot. The center was marked by a circular pattern of runes, their edges carved so deep the air above them seemed to waver. This is the grounding circle, Orion said. Every anchor needs to learn balance before they learn control. Tessa looked skeptical. Balance sounds like yoga talk for people who own crystals. Then think of it as tuning, he said. Your body is the instrument. The market plays through you. If you're out of harmony, the whole place feels it. Okay, maestro, she muttered, but stepped inside anyway. As soon as she did, the runes lit up, gold and blue and white, spiraling outward from her feet. The hum filled the air, steady but low, like the sound of a heartbeat in the earth. Close your eyes, Orion said. She did. Now listen. Don't force anything. Just listen. The air thickened. The hum grew louder until it wasn't sound at all. It was sensation, vibrating through her ribs, her throat, her teeth. It moved in patterns, long, low notes beneath her feet, high ones at her fingertips. "This is what the market feels like," Orion said. His voice sounded far away. "It has rhythm. You have rhythm. When they match, the two worlds stay in balance. And if they don't," he paused, "then things leak." Tessa opened one eye. "Leak?" He gestured toward the far corner of the courtyard. The air shimmered, and for a moment she saw something beyond. A flicker of asphalt, the glow of neon signs, a car passing through an intersection above their heads. "The market is stitched to your world through you," Orion said. "When your emotions spike, those stitches loosen. That's how hunters find the doorways. So if I get too mad, I basically break the universe." "Precisely. Neat." He chuckled, a rare sound. "Try again. Breathe." She closed her eyes once more, focused. The hum steadied, resonant and low. Her heartbeat fell into rhythm with it. Thump, pulse, echo. The gold veins under her skin brightened. And for the first time, she didn't feel like the energy was fighting her. It flowed. "Good," Orion murmured. "Now, hold it." She breathed in, breathed out, the air humming against her lips. A faint warmth spread from her palms. When she opened her eyes, the ground beneath her glowed softly, the runes shifting from blue to gold. "I did it." "You did," he said. "Now remember that feeling. Control is nothing more than trust repeated." She grinned. "That almost sounds like something you'd read on a mug. Then maybe you should make some." The words slipped out of him with an ease that surprised them both. For a second, the air between them changed. Not magic this time, but something simpler, warmer. Then he cleared his throat. Again, they trained for hours, maybe days. Time didn't move normally here. Sometimes she thought she saw dawn, then realized the light was coming from beneath the streets, not above. Orion taught her how to channel energy through movement, through words, through stillness, how to recognize the difference between her fear and the market's fear. Once, when she faltered, the cobblestones under her feet cracked open and spilled blue fire. Orion caught her before she fell. His hands were steady around her wrists, his breath close against her ear. "Don't fight it," he said softly. "Breathe with it." "I'm trying," she whispered. "You're doing better than you think." The words anchored her more than the runes ever could. Eventually, when she could hold the hum steady without shaking, he stepped back and nodded. "You're ready." "For what?" "To see what the market hides." He drew a small blade from his belt, its surface made of mirrored glass that reflected not light, but movement. He pressed the tip to one of the runes at her feet. The world around them shifted. The streets faded. The lanterns dimmed. What replaced them wasn't darkness, but depth. A second layer of the market, shadowed and silent. The stalls here were empty, their goods covered in dust. The air smelled faintly of iron and rain. "This is what lies beneath the glamour," Orion said. "The bones of the market. Every bargain leaves residue, echoes. They collect here." Tessa walked forward, feeling her heartbeat slow. Her glow was the only light in the emptiness. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because the hunters live in these echoes. They can't enter the market's heart directly, but they can cling to what's forgotten. You'll need to sense them before they rise. And you think I can. I know you can." Something moved at the edge of her vision. A shape in the dust, too fast to see clearly. She froze. "Like that?" Orion's sword was in his hand before she finished the question. "Exactly, like that." The air split open with a hiss. Shadows poured out, coalescing into a figure with a face like smoke and eyes like dying suns. "Found you," it whispered. Orion stepped between them. "Stay behind me." Tessa's glow pulsed wildly, reacting to the creature's presence. The hum turned erratic, painful. "It's pulling at me." "That's what they do," Orion said through clenched teeth. "They feed on imbalance. You have to push back." "How?" "Remember the rhythm. Breathe. Match the market." The creature lunged. Orion swung. The blade met smoke and sliced through it like water, scattering the shape into shards of darkness that immediately reformed. Tessa closed her eyes and reached for the hum. It fought her, wild, sharp, angry, but she forced herself to listen. Beneath the chaos, there was a steady pulse. She followed it, matched it, breathed with it. The light around her surged. The hunter screamed as her glow cut through the shadow like sunlight. Its body twisted, fractured, then burst apart, dissolving into the dust. When she opened her eyes, Orion was staring at her in disbelief. "You killed it," he said. "I didn't mean to. You saved us." Her knees buckled. He caught her before she hit the ground. The hum quieted, soft and steady again. Tessa looked up at him, breathless. "Did I do it right?" He smiled faintly. "Perfectly." And for the first time, she believed him. The market changed after that. It wasn't obvious at first. The same lanterns floated over the streets. The same scents of honey and ozone filled the air. But beneath it all, the rhythm had shifted, like a heartbeat skipping every fifth beat. The hum no longer felt like background noise. It followed her now, echoing her every mood. Tessa tried not to notice. She tried to make herself useful instead, pouring coffee upstairs by day, training with Orion at night, pretending the two halves of her life didn't bleed together. But they did. Sometimes, when she was pulling espresso shots, the steam would shimmer gold for a second, before fading back to normal. Sometimes, her reflection in the cafe's window would blink a half second out of sync. And once, when she dropped a mug, it didn't shatter. It simply dissolved into light. Sam joked that she needed more sleep. She laughed with him, smiled, and said maybe she did. But her pulse had begun to sound like the market's hum. And there was no sleeping through that. It began with whispers. Faye in jewel-colored cloaks watched her when she walked through the market. Shopkeepers lowered their voices when she passed. Some bowed, others turned away. She caught snatches of conversation she wasn't meant to hear. Too strong, this one. She's waking the roots again. If she restores the old balance, the courts will fall. Orion pretended not to notice the looks. He guided her through new exercises, focusing on smaller tasks, channeling magic in threads rather than waves. She learned how to coax light into fire, how to heal cracked stone, how to weave glamour through words. "You're too fast," he said one night, almost admiringly. "I've had a good teacher." He smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "A dangerous one. Please. You're only dangerous because you brewed for sport." That made him laugh, a low sound that vibrated through her chest like another pulse. They were standing on the bridge again, watching the glass river below. Light rippled through it in time with her heartbeat. "You see," he said, "you're syncing with the market completely now. That's good, right? It's balance," he said. Then, quieter. "For now." The next night, a fog rolled through Main Street, thick, unnatural, seeping through cracks in the pavement. Tessa was cleaning the espresso machine when she felt it, the hum shifting, a discordant note rippling through the walls. She turned toward the front window. The reflection didn't show her cafe anymore. It showed the market, but dimmer, drained of color. A single figure stood at the center of the street below, cloaked in smoke. "Not again," she muttered, grabbing her coat. When she stepped outside, the air tasted of ash. The reflection still shimmered in the glass. "Orion," she called, hoping he'd sense her through the bond that seemed to exist between them now. But it wasn't Orion who answered. "You shine too brightly for one of them." The voice came from behind her, soft and low, layered with multiple tones. She turned, and there he was, the stranger from the cafe weeks ago, the one who'd ordered coffee. Like memory, his eyes glowed faintly orange. His smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "Miss Morgan," he said, "you're making quite the impression." Tessa's pulse spiked. "You're one of the hunters. I prefer the term preservationist." "Of what?" He stepped closer, the fog coiling around his boots. "Of balance. You've tipped the scales too far. The market thrives, yes, but so does chaos. Mortals weren't meant to touch our world for this long." She squared her shoulders. "Well, tell that to whoever built the damn door under my coffee shop." He tilted his head, amused. "Your mother said the same thing once, before she burned out." Something in her chest cracked. "You knew her." "I killed her." The world went still. Light flared at her fingertips. "You—" He raised a hand lazily, and the air warped. The fog thickened into hands, grasping, pulling. Shadows dragged her backward toward the window. But before they could reach her, a silver blade cut through the mist. Orion stepped out of the darkness, eyes blazing. "Get away from her." The hunter's smirk didn't waver. "Ah, the loyal knight, still pretending she's not your undoing?" Orion's voice was a snarl. "You don't belong here. Neither do you." They collided like storms. Magic cracked the air, shards of light and shadow exploding across the street. Tessa ducked as a lamppost splintered, the reflection in the cafe window rippling wildly. "Orion!" she shouted, her hands glowing gold again. "Stop!" But the hunter's laughter drowned her out. "She doesn't even know what you are, does she?" Orion hesitated just long enough for the hunter's smoke to curl around him like chains. "Tell her," the hunter hissed. "Tell her what the courts made you do." "Don't," Orion said through gritted teeth. Tessa stepped forward, voice shaking. "What is he talking about?" The hunter's smile widened. "He's no protector, little anchor. He's your leash. They sent him to train you so he could drain you when the market's done with you." "That's a lie," Orion growled. But his hesitation was answer enough. Tessa's glow dimmed, the hum in her chest stumbling into dissonance. "Orion, it's not like that." "Then tell me what it is." "I was sent to watch you," he said, "to make sure you didn't destroy us before you learned control." "Watch me," she echoed, her voice hollow. "That's all?" "I stayed because I wanted to," he said quickly. Because you wanted to protect your precious market." "No, because I care about you." The hunter laughed, low and cruel. How touching. A soldier falling for his weapon. Light flared from Orion's sword again. "You talk too much." He swung, the blade cutting through smoke. But the hunter only dissolved, reappearing a few feet away, smiling. "You'll regret choosing her," he said. "They all burn the same." And with that, he vanished. The fog dispersed, leaving only the faint hum of magic in the air. Tessa stood in the ruins of the street, chest glowing faintly gold. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. Orion wiped the blade clean on his sleeve. "Not the way he said it, but true enough." He looked at her, something raw flickering behind his silver eyes. "You don't understand?" "Then help me," she snapped. "Stop hiding things like I'm some kind of child." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "If I told you everything, you'd never forgive me. Try me." Silence. Then, barely above a whisper, "I was there when your mother died." The hum in her chest stuttered. What? She trusted the wrong fae. She tried to anchor the market alone when the hunters came, and it tore her apart. I could have stopped it. I didn't. Her throat tightened. Why not? Because I was ordered not to interfere. The market pulsed once, a tremor under their feet. Tessa turned away before he could see the tears in her eyes. "Get out! Tessa, get out!" The air obeyed her command. The world rippled, the market's light flaring gold behind her. Orion was gone, swallowed by a crack of magic and shadow. Tessa stood alone, shaking, the hum inside her breaking into chaos. Above her, the streetlights flickered wildly. The veil between worlds trembled, thinner than ever, and deep beneath the market, something old and angry began to stir. Tessa didn't know how long she stood there after Orion vanished. The street was eerily still. The fog had dissipated, but the world hadn't righted itself. The air still shimmered faintly, rippling like heat over asphalt. The cafe window reflected the market instead of her own face. Her glow dimmed to a faint pulse, like a dying ember. She pressed a hand to her chest, half expecting her heart to have stopped. It hadn't. It just beat out of rhythm now. Too fast, then too slow. "You don't get to fall apart," she whispered to herself. Not yet, but the market heard her. It always did. The reflection in the window rippled again, and suddenly she was no longer standing on Main Street. She was below, in the market's shadow version of her cafe, where light swam through air like dust motes. The espresso machine hummed softly, its shadow counterpart gleaming like polished bone. The tables were made of stone, not wood. The cups hanging on the wall were translucent, filled with faintly glowing liquid. And she wasn't alone. Mrs. Finch stood near the counter, watching her with those crystalline eyes that made Tessa think of frozen lakes. "You've shaken the balance," she said calmly. Tessa turned sharply. "Don't start with that. Not tonight." Finch didn't move. "You let him go." "I sent him away," Tessa snapped. "There's a difference." "Is there? He was your stabilizer. Without him, your magic will unravel faster." "Good." That startled the older woman. "Good?" Tessa's laugh was hollow. "Maybe the market deserves a little chaos." Finch's expression tightened. "You sound like a hunter." The word hit like a slap. "Take that back, then prove me wrong," Finch said, stepping closer. "Anchor the market again before it collapses. You can still save it." Tessa clenched her fists. The hum inside her had turned sour, the harmony replaced by a grinding noise, like static. "I don't even know how anymore. I can't feel it. It's—" She broke off, because the truth hurt more than she wanted to admit. "It's quiet." "Then you must go where it began," Finch said. "To the heart." Tessa's pulse jumped. "The last time I was there, I nearly died. This time, you might die if you don't." The path to the heart wasn't the same as before. The market itself had changed, gone dim, its glowing streets now pale and brittle as old glass. As she walked, stalls stood empty. The few fae still present watched her with wary eyes, whispering as she passed. The hum that once filled the air was fading, thread by thread. She followed the faint golden trails that glowed under her feet, veins of power leading deeper into the underground. The air grew colder. The smell of ozone turned sharp, metallic. By the time she reached the chamber, her hands were trembling. The heart had dimmed too. Its once glowing branches flickered weakly. The rivers of light beneath its roots had slowed to a sluggish crawl. "Hey," she whispered, stepping closer. I'm sorry. The tree pulsed faintly, answering her with a fragile shimmer. She placed both hands on its trunk. Tell me what to do. The world didn't answer with words. It answered with memories. Her mother's laughter, the sound of rain on the cafe roof when she was little, Orion's voice saying, You burn too bright. Then, something new, a vision she'd never seen. Her mother standing in this very chamber, younger, stronger, light streaming from her body into the heart. Orion was there too, kneeling beside her, his face twisted in pain. Please, he'd said, reaching for her mother. Stop, it's killing you. Her mother had smiled, tired and kind. It's supposed to. Then she dissolved into light. The vision snapped like a string pulled too tight. Tessa fell to her knees, gasping. No, she whispered. No, no, no. The truth hit like cold iron. Her mother hadn't been destroyed by hunters. She'd burned herself out to seal the market. And Orion, he'd watched it happen. The air trembled. Something deep beneath the market stirred again. And this time, she could feel it. A pull, ancient and hungry. The hunters hadn't been lying in wait. They'd been waiting for her. When she climbed back up to the market's surface, she found it half in ruin. Cracks ran through the glass streets. Lanterns flickered, red instead of gold. A crowd had gathered in the central plaza, fae of every shape and rank. They turned toward her as one. She's back, someone hissed. The anchor returns, said another. And yet, the market still falters. Mrs. Finch stood at the front of them, hands clasped tightly. You must restore the link, she said, or everything dies. Tessa scanned the faces. Fear, anger, desperation. I can't, she said. Not alone, the crowd murmured. Some shouted. One threw a handful of dust that shimmered like ash. Then perhaps we find another anchor, someone yelled. She's mortal-born, another snapped. She'll doom us like the last one. Tessa's chest burned. The golden veins under her skin pulsed too fast. You think I want this? You think I asked for any of it? The crowd flinched back as light surged around her. The air crackled. The hum screamed. Mrs. Finch raised her voice. Control yourself, Tessa. I'm trying. The light burst outward, cracking the cobblestones. For a split second, she could see through the veil. The real main street above. Ordinary people walking, laughing, unaware their world teetered over a pit of magic. Then, the vision shattered. When the light cleared, the market was silent. Finch stepped forward carefully. You can't fight it alone. You need someone to balance you. Orion's gone. Then find him. Her jaw clenched. I sent him away. Then call him back? Tessa's laugh was bitter. I wouldn't know how. Finch's expression softened. You don't need to. The market remembers what you've forgotten. The older fae stepped aside, revealing something glimmering on the ground behind her. A silver coin, etched with runes that looked familiar. Tessa knelt, picking it up. It was warm to the touch, pulsing faintly in her palm. What is this? His marker, said Finch. A promise he left behind. He's bound to it, and to you. Tessa stared at the coin, then closed her fist around it. Then let's bring him home. She returned to the cafe that night, exhausted but determined. The world above looked unchanged. Cars passed, streetlights flickered. Life went on. But when she flipped the closed sign, the air inside shifted. The reflection in the window deepened again, showing the market faintly beneath. She set the silver coin on the counter. You said you wanted to protect me, she whispered. So do it. The coin glowed, brighter and brighter, until it was too painful to look at. Then it split in two, and from the light, Orion stepped out. He looked older, heavier somehow, as if time had moved differently for him. His eyes met hers, full of regret. "Tessa, don't," she said, voice trembling. "Just don't." He hesitated. "You called me. I didn't know what else to do." He took a step closer, then stopped. "You found out. About my mother. About you. About everything. I wanted to tell you. You should have." Silence hung between them like smoke. "Finally," she whispered, "the market's dying. I know. I can't fix it alone. I know that too." She looked up at him, eyes shining faintly gold. "Then help me save it," he exhaled. "Even if it burns you alive." "If I'm going to burn," she said, "I'm not doing it alone." Orion's smile was small but real. "Then we do it together." Outside, the lights of Main Street began to flicker again, the signal of the veil straining. The hum rose, low and urgent, and somewhere deep below, the hunter stirred once more, drawn to the scent of open magic. The hum rose, like a warning siren under her feet. Tessa swallowed hard and met Orion's gaze across the darkened cafe. "So, what's the plan, exactly? Because I assume don't die isn't enough of a strategy." "Depends on the day," he said dryly. Then his expression sobered. "We can't just patch the market anymore. It's tearing at the seams. We have to rebind it at the source. The heart." He nodded. "Together this time. No one burns alone. Bold of you to assume I'm not selfish enough to shove it all on to you." He huffed out a breath that was almost a laugh. "You'd still grab half of it out of spite. Fair." The lights flickered. The reflection in the window deepened, the faint outline of the market growing sharper. Streets, lanterns, shadows. The cracks were visible now, jagged lines of darkness running through the glowing stone. Tessa slipped the silver coin into her pocket and squared her shoulders. "Okay, let's go fix your stupid magic city before it collapses on my coffee shop." Orion offered his hand. "You ready?" "No," she said, taking it anyway. "But go." The world flipped, folding inside out. They fell between heartbeats, between breaths, between worlds. The market was chaos. Cracks marred the glass streets, seeping darkness like spilled ink. Lanterns swung wildly on invisible tethers, their light sputtering red one moment, gold the next. Fae dashed through the chaos, some trying to shore up broken stalls, others fleeing toward the edges where the market blurred into shadow. The hum was too loud here. Not a song anymore, but a scream. Mrs. Finch appeared at their side the moment they landed. Her normally immaculate bun was loose, silver hair falling in wisps around her face. "You found him." Relief flickered across her features before she composed herself. "Good. You're almost out of time. Always nice to feel welcome," Orion muttered. "What happened?" Tessa asked. "It was bad before, but the market is unraveling," Finch said. "Your outburst fractured the veil. The hunters have wedged themselves into those cracks. If they reach the heart before you do, they'll make sure it never binds again." "Okay," Tessa said, forcing her voice steady. "Then we get there first." Finch's gaze cut to Orion. "You both know what that means." He nodded once. "We do." Tessa looked between them. "I like how I apparently don't." Finch hesitated. "To truly rebind the market, the anchor can't stand alone. Anchors burn from the inside out when they channel that much power. But if someone joins the bond, they share the load," Orion finished quietly. "They burn together." Tessa's mouth went dry. "You said we'd do it together as a metaphor." "It was never a metaphor," he said. "The heart doesn't recognize symbolism, only sacrifice." She stared at him. "You didn't think to mention this when I called you back?" He held her gaze, unflinching. Would you have called if I had? She hated that the answer was no. The market shook again, a visible ripple rolling through the air. Say something. Make a joke. Don't anything. Instead, she closed her eyes and took a breath. The hum crashed into her lungs, wild and unsteady. Fine, she said. Let's go before I change my mind. Orion's hand found hers, solid and warm. Finch stepped aside like a gate opening. Good luck, dear, she said softly. Try not to die. No promises, Tessa muttered. They ran. The closer they got to the heart, the worse it got. Whole sections of the market had gone dark, their stalls frozen mid-collapse. In some places, the glass streets had shattered completely, leaving only yawning gaps that showed nothing beneath. Not rock, not light, just emptiness. Hunters slithered out of those gaps like smoke. Some wore half faces, features drifting in and out of focus. Others were nothing more than twisting shadow and teeth. They snarled when they saw Tessa, drawn to her glow like vultures to a flame. Orion moved like a storm, his blade a streak of silver, between one breath and the next. Every hunter he sliced dissolved into dust, but more rose from the cracks. Tessa didn't have the luxury of subtlety anymore. Her power roared, responding to the danger like a reflex. She flung her hands out and let it surge, waves of gold crashing into the shadows, pushing them back long enough to clear a path. Don't overdraw, Orion shouted over the roar. You'll burn out before we get there. Then run faster. He grinned briefly, wild and sharp, before cutting down another hunter that lunged from the side. The hum in her chest escalated from scream to static, edges of pain prickling under her ribs. Every step made the heart's presence stronger. A gravitational pull dragging her downward. They reached the final stairway. It was different now. Not a hidden tunnel, but a ragged tear in the market itself, like the world had been clawed open. Beyond it, light blazed, harsh and white. Tessa, Orion said, catching her arm. Listen to me. No time for speeches. You have to hear this. His voice was fierce. When we bond to the heart, it'll try to take everything. Every regret, every fear, every memory. You can let go of some of it, but you have to choose what you keep. She swallowed. Why? Because whatever you hold on to is what the market will be built around. He held her gaze. Anchor it to something worth surviving for, or we're just rebuilding another prison. Her throat tightened. What did my mom anchor it to? Duty, he said, almost a whisper. She believed that was enough. And you think it wasn't? He looked at her like the answer hurt. Duty doesn't hold when you're dying. The hunters howled above them. The stairway trembled. Tessa took his hand, squeezing hard. Then we anchor it to something else. What? She almost said you, and that scared her more than anything. Connection, she said instead. People, choice, whatever this is between worlds, and between us. Something flickered in his eyes. Then, don't let go of that. They stepped through the tier. The chamber was no longer a serene cavern of light. It was a storm. The heart tree towered above them, its crystalline branches thrashing, like it was caught in a hurricane. Rivers of light beneath its roots surged and receded in violent waves. Dark cracks ran along the trunk. Leaking shadow, like blood, hunters clung to its branches, like parasites, gnawing at the light. Every bite sent shockwaves through the chamber. The sight hurt, not just emotionally, physically. The heart was woven into her now. Watching it break felt like watching her own ribs splinter. Tessa stumbled. Orion caught her before she fell. They're feeding on the instability, he said. Like rot in old wood. Then let's fumigate. She stepped forward. The hunters turned as one, their shifting faces contorting. "Anchor," they hissed. "Little spark, little match, burn for us." The world narrowed to a single point. Her, the heart, and the endless press of shadow. She raised her hands. Light surged, brighter than it had ever been, so fierce it whited out her vision. The hunters screamed as the wave hit them, peeling them off the branches in strips of darkness. But as they fell, they didn't vanish. They flowed downward, pooling at the base of the tree, climbing back up again. "It's not enough," she gasped. "I can't clear them faster than they regenerate." "That's because you're fighting them alone," Orion said. "Let me in." She turned, light flickering around her like flame. "And if letting you in kills us both, then we die doing something that matters. Did you rehearse that?" He smiled, pained but real. "I've had a few decades." The heart cracked again, a deep fissure blooming along the trunk. The whole chamber shook. Tessa took a breath that felt like swallowing fire. Then she reached out her hand. "Fine," she said. "Let's be stupid together." Took it. The bond snapped into place like a door slamming shut. Light and silver roared through her in equal measure. She felt him, not beside her, but inside her. His steady discipline, his guilt like a bruise, his stubborn hope he tried to bury under sarcasm. He felt her too. She knew it, felt the way his mind flinched at the wild intensity of her emotions, the messy tangle of grief and anger and fierce, reckless love for a world that kept hurting her. "Don't fight me," he sent. Not in words exactly, but in intention. "Then don't hold me back," she sent back. They turned toward the heart together. The bond pulsed once, twice. The hum shattered, then reformed into something new. Not the market's old rhythm, not Tessa's frantic pulse, but a third cadence woven from both. "Now," Orion said. They stepped forward and pressed their joined hands to the heart. The world exploded. There was no up or down anymore. No chamber, no market, no café. There was only everything. Tessa saw flashes of every bargain ever made here. Fingers clasping over glowing coins. Whispers traded under lantern light. Promises kept. Promises broken. Children being healed. Lovers reunited. Monsters sealed away. Doorways opened when someone needed a way out of a life that was killing them. She saw her mother, younger, laughing, crying, holding Tessa as a baby in one arm while touching the heart with her free hand. She saw Orion at the edge of the chamber, fists clenched, forced to watch. The pain was indescribable. Every nerve burned. Her body felt too small to contain the flood of magic pouring through her. The bond with Orion was the only thing keeping her from splitting apart. "Anchor it," he pushed toward her, mind voice strained. "Remember what you're binding it to. Duty." Her mother's face, the café, Sam's crooked grin, the old couple who came in every Thursday to split a croissant. Mrs. Finch's steady hand on her shoulder. The market's strange, beautiful chaos. Orion's hand, solid in hers. She clung to those images like a lifeline. Connection, she told the heart. Anchor it to connection, to choice, to every stupid, fragile bond that makes staying worth it. The heart listened. It pulsed, once, twice. The cracks began to knit. The rivers of light beneath its roots surged with renewed strength. The hunters shrieked as the magic they'd been gnawing turned solid under their claws, ejecting them like splinters. They tried to flee, dissolving into shadow, but the bound market had nowhere left for them to hide. The echoes they fed on had been reclaimed. One by one, they were pulled toward the fissures at the chamber's edges, gaps that once led to the void, but now burned with pure, cleansing flame. They vanished into it, screaming. The storm calmed. The light dimmed from blinding to bearable. The heart stood whole again, glowing with a steady, gentle radiance. Its branches spread wide, hung with star orbs that pulsed in time with both their hearts. Tessa sagged forward. Orion's grip kept her from crumpling completely. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just breathed, leaning against the heart, letting its new rhythm settle into their bones. Finally, he said hoarsely, "You did it. You mean we did it?" He huffed. "Yes, but you're the reason it chose connection instead of obligation. That changes more than you know." She managed a shaky smile. "Good. Maybe next time it can choose naps and snacks." He laughed, the sound disbelieving and raw. The bond between them didn't vanish when the magic receded. It softened, settled, not a raging river anymore, but a quiet, undeniable thread. "Are we stuck like this?" she asked. He tilted his head, eyes searching her face. "Do you want to be?" The honest answer surprised her with how simple it was. "Yeah, I think I do." "Then yes," he said. "We are." When they climbed back to the market surface, it was like stepping into a dream after surviving a nightmare. The streets were whole again. The cracks were gone, replaced by stronger seams of glowing gold. Lanterns burned bright and steady, casting warm light over the stalls. The air smelled of fresh rain and sugar, not ash. Faye emerged from doorways and shadows, eyes wide. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they saw Tessa and Orion step onto the renewed glass. "She did it. It's stable. The hunters are gone." Mrs. Finch approached slowly, her expression unreadable. "Well," she said at last. "I'll be damned." Tessa snorted. "Language." Finch's lips twitched. "You anchored it differently. I can feel it. The market, it's softer." "Not weaker," Orion said. "Just kinder." Finch studied him, then Tessa. "And you bound yourself as a co-channel." Orion's shoulders lifted in a faint shrug. Seemed rude to let her burn alone. Finch looked at Tessa, and for the first time, there was no pity in her eyes, just respect. "Your mother chose duty," she said quietly. "You chose something harder." "What's harder than duty?" "Letting yourself care," Finch said, "and living with what that cost will be." Tessa swallowed. "Are we going to die early?" "Yes," Finch said, without hesitation. Then, softer. "But not today," Tessa exhaled, tension unwinding from her shoulders. "I'll take not today." The market hummed, but it was different now. Not a distant, separate rhythm, but something that felt like a chorus, layered over her own. She glanced at Orion. "So, what now?" "Now," he said, "we live with it. That's the whole plan. We keep the market stable. We deal with whatever new trouble crawls out of the dark. We drink questionable coffee. Excuse you," he smiled. "We make it up as we go." She thought about the heart, about the choice she'd made, about the strange, stitched-together life waiting for her above. "Okay," she said. "I can work with that." The cafe reopened 2 days later. To the mortals on Main Street, nothing had changed. They still ordered caramel lattes and complained about the weather. They still asked if the oat milk was extra. But every night, just before midnight, Tessa felt the new hum settle under the floorboards, like a cat curling up to sleep. The night market reflected faintly in the glass now, even when the veil was closed. A ghost city beneath the real one, its lanterns pulsing gently. The bond between her and Orion thrummed quietly under her skin. Not intrusive, just present. He'd taken to sitting at the counter in the evenings, sleeves rolled up, notebook open. Sometimes he scribbled notes. Sometimes he just watched her work like bartenders, and baristas were the real magicians in every world. "You know," she said, one slow night, sliding him his usual black coffee, "if you're going to haunt my cafe, I should start charging rent. Put it on my tab," he said. "You still owe me for not letting you die. We're still splitting that bill." He smiled. Outside, the streetlights flickered slowly, in perfect time with her heartbeat. Beneath the city, the market pulsed, not just stable, but alive, its new foundation rooted in every bond, every choice, every messy bit of connection Tessa refused to let go of. She wiped the counter, listening to the layered hum of both worlds and the quiet clink of Orion's cup against porcelain. "Welcome to Brew and Bloom," she said, as the door chimed and a new customer walked in. "What can I get started for you?" Down below, 1,000 lanterns flared in response, like stars nodding in approval. The night market under Main Street was anchored, and so was she. The end.